Now, hello, Jai Hind, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about new chapter. It is chapter number 8 of Social Science, class 7th. How the land becomes sacred. Now, the important things that we are going to discuss in this chapter is first is the meaning of sacredness, sacred places like pilgrimages, more sacred sites related to the nature, then becoming aware of sacred geography, sacred ecology, and finally we will going to conclude this chapter by the important one like from pilgrimage to trade, sacred geography beyond India, and so on. Now let's begin. What is sacredness? As you know, sacredness is finding something of deep religious or spiritual significance that is worthy of respect and reverence. Reverence means deep respect. So, sacredness means deeply respected, holy, spiritual significance. For example, it can be a special location or shrine, it can be a thing, emotions, it can be anything. It can be physical also, it can be abstract also. So whenever we linked something religious or spiritual to anything that it is worthy of respect, it is termed as sacredness. So sacredness is not only religious, but it can also be cultural or social. Now, the four important religion that originated outside the India are Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and Zoroastrianism. But despite that, people visit or congregate these places for prayer and worship in India also. As we know, like for example, Dargah Sharif of Ajmer, the Velankani Church in Tamil Nadu. So people are visiting these pilgrimages sites in India. Now, if we talk about Sikhism, we know that takhts are the seats or center of spiritual authority. For example, the Takht Shri Patna Sahib in Patna, the Akal Takht, that is the part of Golden Temple in Amritsar, Takht Shri Keshgarh Sahib at Anandpur. So these are the important tirths or the important sites. Now, second is that is what is sacred places. It includes temples, shrines, holy cities. They become sacred due to myths, legends, or historical event. For example, Varanasi, Bodh Gaya, Rameshwaram. Now people will believe visiting these places because they brings blessings. So pilgrimages, these are the sites, and pilgrimage is the journey to a sacred place. Important pilgrimages in India are Char Dham, Kumbh Mela, Amarnath Yatra. And sometimes the pilgrimages routes themselves become sacred. If we talk about Jainism, you know that in Jainism, the religious head of the Jainism are Tirthankaras. And the places which are visited by Tirthankaras and are of significant event related to their life are termed as Tirth. For example, the Mount Abu, Girnar, and the Shatrunjay Hill in Saurashtra. Another example with regard to the pilgrimage is like Sabarimala temple that is in Kerala, which is dedicated to the deity Ayappa. So which draws over 10 million devotee every year. And this hilltop shrine was traditionally reached by an immensely difficult trek through hill and forest. So with such challenges also common people are approaching these shrines, these temples, these sites because they have a deep respect for them. There is also one example with respect to the old tradition in Maharashtra with regard to the Pandharpur Wari. Wari means pilgrimage that is held regularly. So, in this case, the pilgrims walk in large groups for 21 days to the famous Bithoba temple in Pandharpur. Now, these are the few of the examples that we have discussed. Now, let's go into the nature. As we know, except the deities temples in many religions, especially in Hindu and many folk or tribal beliefs, we know that tribal people they generally worship nature spirit. Nature spirit, like for example, mountain spirit, river spirit, plants and animal spirit. And hence, these places or these areas are also sacred because of their belief and their spiritual or cultural or traditional significance. The one of the example that the NCERT is talking about is the Niyamgiri Hill. As we know, Niyamgiri range in Niyamgiri range of Jharkhand, we have Niyamgiri Hill, and the tribe that is associated with this particular Niyamgiri Hill is Dongriya Khon tribe. And they believe that the hill is abode of Niyam Raja, who is the supreme deity, who provides everything they need for sustenance. So, cutting trees there is prohibited and it is considered a sign of disrespect to the deity. Next is also the Nilgiris of Tamil Nadu. Nilgiri is a UNESCO site and it is rich in biodiversity, but apart from that, it is also a sacred site. The Todas living here, they regard many mountain peaks as sacred and associate them with their god. So, how we can say that the sacredness is already or also connected with the geography of the India. Many of the sacred sites are spread all over the subcontinent. If we talk about in Hinduism, we know that there are Char Dham and these are connected to the these are connected to the located in the four corners of the India, that is southern, northern, eastern and western. Same is with regard to the Jyotirlings. As we know, they are spread from north to south and west to east. There are 51 Shakti Peeths also. Now, what is a Shakti Peeth? As we know, Shakti is the divine mother in the form of Sati, and as we know how the angry Sati immolated herself, and at that time Shiva was so livid that he took her body and refused to allow the last rites. And here comes into the picture the Vishnuji who used his chakra to cut up the Sati's body. And the places where the body parts of the Divine Mother fell one by one is regarded as the Shakti Peeths. So the symbol behind the story is clear that the whole land became the body of the Divine Mother. And because of these things, that this sacredness, sacred places, Tirth, people are visiting the geography of the country India. Not only this, we see that Shakti Peeths are uh, also in the region of the Bangladesh and Pakistan. So why did people traveling such long distances? First is the religious motivation, but apart from that, some like merchants and traders, they travel to exchange goods. Some are traveling to discuss, debate, and to learn about the culture, about the tradition, or about the religion. And when people are gathering from all over the areas and connecting to that particular point and sharing their ideas, this led to the development of new ideas. New ideas will going to be emerged and the old ones were adapted. So this complex process is also a part of the cultural integration. Now next topic is sacred ecology. As we know that tirthas are usually located on the bank of the river or lake, mountain and so on. And hence it is culturally or ecologically, we can say that ecologically it is linked to the ecosystem. What is ecology? As we know, when we talk about mountains, rivers, lakes, so it is a part of ecology. The cultural text, religious text, they have mentioned the sacredness of the ecology. For example, in the Ved, Rig Ved, there are many hymns are there. For example, Nadi Stuti. In the Nadi Stuti Sukta, it is written there about the nadis, rivers. Stuti is there. Even today, in many rituals where involving water, we hear this particular sukt, that is Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalismin Sanidham Kuru. So here what is it is saying that Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, and Kaveri, may you manifest in this water. And in the local areas, we also hear the word like Ganga ji and Yamuna ji, which shows a deep respect for these rivers. And whenever the sacredness comes into the picture, it is not only religiously connected, but it is also helping in conserving these particular sites. A deep respect is there, so we will going to conserve that particular area. For example, Kumbh Mela. As we know, Kumbh Mela, the story of Kumbh Mela, you know about that from the Samudra Manthan. It generally originates how the four drops of the Amrit fell on the over these four places, that is Haridwar, Prayagraj, Nasik, and Ujjain. And these are the places where the Kumbh Mela has been held. And it is believed that dip in these rivers during a prescribed period is considered most auspicious. And one more thing with regard to the Kumbh Melas. Now, first thing is that it is UNESCO has listed the Kumbh Mela as an intangible heritage of the world. Apart from this, Kumbh Mela is not only a cultural integration, but it is also linked to the economy. How the economy of that particular place will going to boost, how the new startups will going to come. We have already seen during the time of the Prayagraj how the new ideas came. It was a economical, cultural, and traditional Mela. It was not only related to a particular religion or particular thing. Now, if we talk about mountain and forest, as we know, the few examples like Mount Kailash, Vaishno Devi Temple, Lord Balaji. Now, these are few of the examples. So, these sacredness have also helped in preserving these particular areas. It is a symbolic thing for visiting the geography, maintaining the ecology, and thus helping in building the economical zones around these areas. Next is trees, forest, and sacred groups. As we know that in many of the religions, we worship trees. For example, the one species of fig tree commonly called people or Bodhi tree. It is sacred to Hinduism and Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. In fact, its botanical name is Ficus really religiosa. In Latin, it means religious or sacred fig tree. There are texts also, epics, two important epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana. And these texts have vivid description of pilgrimages undertaken and places visit or sacred rivers, forests and mountains. So how these epics are mentioning the geography of the country India, and each and every geography that is mentioned here is connected to the sacredness, and hence people are visiting these places. This led to the development, this led to the involvement of the wide diversity of communities. Now, there is also one example of the Renkyu or Basa in Meghalaya. These special forests are called sacred groups, and with their sacred status have come to shelter great biodiversity of flora and fauna. This is the thing that we need to discuss. When something is sacred, then there comes the feeling of reverence and respect. And when we are going to do the when we are going to respect something, then of course we will going to preserve it. And hence we have already talked about many times that sacredness is closely linked to the biodiversity, ecology, and hence it is what it is doing, it is conserving the biodiversity of flora and fauna. Many sacred groups are also home to small water bodies and thus help in water conservation. Now, from pilgrimage to trade. Now, as we know, Before going to this topic, I'd just like to discuss the social and cultural impact. That is, first thing is sacred places bring people together from different regions and thus encourage cultural exchange and unity and strengthens identity and belongings also. Now, from pilgrimage to trade. As we know, pilgrimage encounter traders and merchants along their journeys, and this interaction benefits both groups because pilgrims needs various items which traders can provide. As a result, pilgrimage routes and the trade routes often overlap. For example, we talk about the Uttar Path and the Dakshin Path, which we have already discussed. It is connecting to the place Ujjain. It is connecting to the place Pratisthana. And hence, we can say that because it is uh, pilgrimage in the point view of the view of the pilgrimage, it is connected, so the trading is happening, or we can say that trading is happening because pilgrim site is connected. Both the things is clear. For example, if you visit any of the temple, any of the sacred places there, you will going to visit there, you will obviously going to do the purchases, and hence it is traditionally it is in the point view of the traders also and in the point view of the pilgrims also. Both are going to benefit from it. Now next is sacred geography beyond India. For example, ancient Greek had many sacred landmarks, from mountains to sacred groups. The Native Americans used to have a special bond with nature and they viewed as sacred. The same is with regard to the Maoris, the indigenous people of New Zealand. They regarded the Taranaki Monga mountain as their ancestor and therefore as sacred. And recently, a law granted this mountain the rights and responsibility of a human being, an acknowledgement of the Maori worldview. The elders of the community represented the voice of the mountain or river threatened with destruction. This ensures that sacred places are not exploited and degenerated. Now, look at this, restoring and conserving the sacred. So, this is the important thing that we need to discuss is nowadays the sacred places are there is a need to restore them and conserve them. For example, the Yamuna in the north and the Mahanadi in the east or the Kaveri in the south are all sacred rivers, we know. How come they have become so polluted? We need to discuss this. Discuss with your parents, discuss with your teachers, discuss with your peered ones. Because people are visiting there and with their loss of the civic senses, they have polluted these places. We need to understand that first thing is a citizen should be very much aware about the places, sacred places, their importance, and their importance comes with the first thing. If something is sacred, then respect should be there, reverence should be there. If respect and reverence are there, then only people can protect that particular place. And hence, there is a need now arising that we need to restore and conserve these places because these are so much polluted. And hence, whose responsibility is this? It is the responsibility of the citizens, it is the responsibility of the people, it is the responsibility of the government. A harmonious relationship that once existed between people and the sacred geography sustained Indian civilization, creating values that were shared all over the subcontinent. So, the what we have already discussed in this chapter is, as you know, the name of the chapter is How Land Becomes Sacred. We discussed how these sacred sites emerged from different regions, what is their importance, and why we need to incorporate the concept of sacredness. Because of the sacredness only people have the deep respect for them, they have the deep religious feelings for it, and hence with that thing there comes the picture of the conservation. That's why these sites have been conserved, because they are linked to the culture, they are linked to the tradition, they are linked to the religion. Apart from this, one point, uh, one view of this thing is the sacredness. Second is with regard to the economy, how the economy is flourishing around these areas, and how development also needs to be done there. And development should not be uh, vague, it should be the sustainable development, not harming the sacred places, not harming the environment, keeping in the point the sacredness, the beliefs of the people, and other things. So, in short, we have already discussed from this chapter the important key points that you need to understand is origin of the sacred places, few of the example with respect to the temple pilgrimage sites, whether it is related to the temple deity or it is related to the nature, how it is linked to the ecology, how it is protecting the biodiversity, and so on. Last one is the correlationship between the trade and the pilgrimage, how they are interlinked. And the another point that we need to discuss is the development and economy. What development we need to do, and how the economy will going to prosperous with the setting of the tirth or these pilgrimage sites. I hope this chapter is very much clear with you. If you have any doubt, feel free to ask. Thank you.